matter experts to provide candid conversations on health and lifestyle. Here at HNC Let's Talk Podcast, mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and health are all connected. This episode of HNC Let's Talk Podcast is sponsored by HealthNet Co. Together, we make insurance simple.
Good afternoon. This is Dexter Brooks with HNC Let's Talk Podcast, and with my good guy here, my co-host, Demetrius Rayden Johnson. What's happening, my man?
Hey, how's it going, Dexter? It's going pretty good out here in Tennessee. How's it going out there in Denver?
Well, you know, what can I tell you, man? It's been that's a lot going on right now. That's the thing. There's so much going on. We're getting close to open enrollment. There's so much things going on politically. There's so much things going on technically. You know, so you just try to keep yourself to the point where you can focus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I am. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. There is a lot going on. I mean, you know, we've got politically, I guess it's not so political, but it's become political. We got Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She just passed away.
Man. True enough.
Yeah, that's been a big thing going on. You know, there's a lot going on and plenty to talk about. I know we're rolling up here on daylight savings time, so it's a little darker out here sooner in Tennessee. So it's 7 o'clock, and I'm noticing that it's starting to get dark a little sooner here.
Oh yeah, I know how that is. And the trees are changing colors already, man. You know, that's the thing. The trees are just turning gold, and it's cooler. It's like at nighttime, I have to put on a blanket. Remember the last podcast I told you I had to throw a blanket on the bed, man. It was so cold.
That was me too, man. It dipped down to like 55 degrees last night in Tennessee. And it's been really warm out here. And, you know, all of a sudden the average, you know, the temperature dropped over the last like couple of days. And it's very noticeable out here. The leaves aren't changing the same way that they do in Denver. I'm looking out here; they're still pretty green. So I don't know. Maybe we're a little bit later on that. I'm not sure. I haven't been out here for more than a few months. But I don't know if the leaves change out here or not. I'm pretty sure they do, but I haven't seen them change quite yet.
Yeah, but you know, we had early snow.
Yeah,
we had a really early snow. You know,
yeah. I mean, it's starting to get to the point where the seasons out there in Colorado are starting to all kind of mesh together. You never know when it's going to snow. August, July, or who knows when it's going to snow out there. That's crazy.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right. So let's just get started here because we're going to wrap this up, and we're not going to wrap it up. We're actually going to bring it back up to the public eye again. This Wakanda, the Wakanda financial planning that Demetrius Rayden Johnson decided to come up with, which I thought it was awesome. The name itself was awesome. So last time we was talking about that and how that would work, and I've seen so many things that have changed. Like I noticed there was a couple, I think we mentioned this before, there was a couple of females in Georgia that bought 100 acres of land.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because I think that's really interesting. I think that's right in line with some of the things that I want to be a part of. They bought that land down there, and I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I mean that's the beginning of it right there. That's that people have to realize that is the beginning when you start investing your funds in something that you know that's going to bring back revenue.
Yeah, it's going to bring back revenue. I think with that land that they purchased, it's an opportunity to kind of create your own community. Back in the day, there was a time where there was very strict redlining. I mean, we've got redlining that still goes on today. It's a little bit more subtle. But there was a time when, Black folks could only live in certain areas. And I think that it's good now that, there's a group of people that have gotten together to say, hey, this is where we want to live. This is where we want to build. And they've actually taken the first step by purchasing the land, to potentially creating a very intentional community, which I think is awesome. Yeah, I think that's really awesome. It's always been, like my grandfather always told my parents, and his kids that, buy land, because they're not making any more land. So, over time, it's destined to go up in value. So there's definitely an investment aspect to that as well.
And I think about this because I look at people always talking about gentrification and in the neighborhoods, and I go, well, if they would have bought the land, that's something they wouldn't have to worry about now.
Exactly. And that's the key, is to own the land, because as long as you own the land and you're paying taxes on it, you can't get away from paying those taxes. But as long as you own the land, then you have to worry less about gentrification. And if you're educated on how to retain that land and retain the buildings and the homes that are on that land, then gentrification becomes less of an issue. And I think it's wonderful what they're doing down there in Georgia. I wish that a lot of that kind of stuff would be done in Denver or in Colorado somewhere as well. I know that land prices are kind of at a premium out there in Colorado, but there's
Oh
definitely
yeah.
opportunity to purchase land out that way as well, and kind of build literally from the ground up. One of the reasons that I've remained out here in Tennessee so long is that, there's a lot of opportunity down here all throughout the South. I think that, folks from the North or people in very metropolitan areas, there's opportunities for them to go back to the South where a lot of Black folks came from and purchase up that land. And, Tennessee's got some really cheap land out here. And so, yeah, I think what they're doing in Georgia, which is not that far away, is great. I like to see that kind of stuff. So I'll be paying really close attention to what they're doing out there in Georgia.
So, what other ideas and suggestions do you think that would be that people should utilize or look into to build that financial Wakanda? I mean, because we know you got the property, the rent of the home, the property, the buildings, the land. We touched base on the insurance, the life insurance policies.
Yeah, yeah. And that, creating that financial infrastructure, I think is key. That first step of purchasing the land is the huge one. We need to also educate ourselves on how to retain that land, to make sure that that land remains with those families. I think it was like a couple of dozen or so families that ended up purchasing that land in total. And so, I would think that it would be wise for them to, I'm sure that they know about, the taxes that need to be paid and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure that they'll go about building homes and all of that. But, on a grander scale, it would be nice if, yes, we have the land and yes, we have the home, but then we also have financial infrastructure where we're talking about, banks and life insurance companies, that all of that stuff needs to be, when we talk about recirculating dollars within the community, we need to have financial infrastructure to support that. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's definitely key. And we need to educate ourselves and future generations and focus on the economic side of, the generational wealth. It's more than just passing down a home. I think we need to build layers upon layers upon layers, in the Black community, to make sure that we, retain those assets and that we profit from those assets, and that we're doing something that is, as they say, begin with the end in mind. So when we talk about financial Wakanda and what that would look like, look out 20, 30, 40, 50 years and say, hey, how do we want this to look? And so, for me, I just want to, I love to be a part of anything that is similar to that, to where folks are, buying up land and they're saying, how can we capitalize on this land? How can we be efficient with this? So there's many layers, there's many areas, and there's definitely a lot of opportunity for folks to do well financially with a project like that. I would like to see that in every state.
I would too. I agree with that. That would be really nice if that you could see that in every single state.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about, gentrification, like you were saying, and when you take ownership, when you take control of your own financial future, you have to worry about gentrification quite a bit less. And so the initiative that they had by, buying up all that land, I mean, that's a huge step. I mean, I will definitely again be watching very closely to what they're doing, and hopefully learning something from that to maybe help do something either out here or in Colorado. So that would be great. Yeah,
So
there was a time at which, and I'm still working on it with, helping to facilitate the creation of a credit union, and being a part of that financial infrastructure. These people that are purchasing these homes, I would imagine that if they wanted to, you know, come up with a financial plan. Oh, great, you're bringing that up here. I see that you've got the website up where it looks like, I'm going to take a look here. Yeah, 96.71 acres of undeveloped land, 120 miles southwest of Atlanta. So, yeah, I mean, that is definitely the first step, and I'm so excited um, to be learning more and more about that. I'm looking at that on the screen here, and it's almost 100 acres, and so
yeah,
um,
that's almost 100 acres, man. That was really, really, really nice. It's like, phew.
yeah, because I mean, and to give people an idea of how much an acre is, like I don't know if people understand exactly how big that is, but it's pretty much about the size of a football field without the end zones. And so you're talking about 100 football fields basically of land that they have acquired, and I think it's awesome. I think that
And here's the thing: if you read this on through it, it basically said with hopes of building generational wealth.
yes,
See,
that has to be the focus, generational wealth. It can't just be, hey, this is what we're just doing right now. It has to be, this is what we're planning for our financial future. And again, you know, that we need to focus on that from a micro level, on an individual level, and on a family level. And then we need
hmm
to focus on that on a macro level as a community, as a whole. And so I think I mean, that's the first step, is buying that land. Like I've said before, my area of expertise is definitely not in real estate, but in a project like that, building retail and having an investment advisor to assist with those families, having a financial planner that is going to maximize the potential profit of that land. Having a bunch of people at the table, or enough people that know what they're doing and have a level of expertise to help be efficient with creating wealth with a piece of property like that. That's something that I could assist with, or somebody on my team could assist with. And so if that were something that was to be done in Atlanta, and as that moves along, I think that it will set, kind of a mold for people to recreate, and potentially in other states. I've seen where, I think it was in Oklahoma, where the government had granted the Native Americans pretty much the eastern part, quite a bit of land in Oklahoma. And there's plenty of land. I mean, there's a lot of folks out there that have a scarcity mindset, and they're like, they want to, acquire, and they're like, hey, we got to, move people out of the country. We've got a president that's in office that is, we've still got, Hispanic folks locked up. We've got ICE out there, trying to kick folks out of the country and stuff. And it's, because of a belief that there's not enough, that there's not enough here, but there's plenty. There's more than enough for everyone. And so I think that within the Black community, Black and Brown communities, we need to kind of join forces together and say, hey, how do we do this? How can we organize ourselves to create the best outcome for us in the long run? So that thing in Georgia, man, I'm super excited about it. And you're from Georgia, right?
I am born and raised in Georgia. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe we'll have to go down there and go take a look at what's going on sometime.
Absolutely, because I definitely want to see this land these ladies purchase, and definitely shake their hands on that one, because I'm impressed with that as myself.
Yeah, me
I mean,
too.
it doesn't have to be in the city. I tell you that. It doesn't have to be near the city. It just needs to be land. That's all that matters.
Yeah, you land, and that's one of the good things about kind of the business that you and I are in, because I know with you being in the healthcare insurance and things, and myself being with life insurance and disability and whatnot, being part of that financial infrastructure, the importance of protection. And so you know that land needs to be protected, that those homes they need to have homeowners insurance, and those families need to have life insurance to make sure that it's easy for those homes and those parcels of land to pass down easily. And I've had instances in my own personal family where property has been taken away as a result of not being able to, like I said before, pay taxes. I mean, yes, you own land, but at the end of the day, you know, Uncle Sam still wants his
Yeah, Uncle Sam's going to be right there looking at you, smiling. So just go and don't fear, Sam. Just go ahead and give him his share and be through with it.
Go ahead and give him his share and be through with it. Because I know that in my family we have lost acres and acres of land as a result of not paying taxes. And so you need to have a plan for, how those taxes are going to be paid, even once you own that land. So some people think it's just as simple as purchasing a piece of land and then you own it, or your family owns it indefinitely. And that's true to an extent. It's not entirely true, but it's mostly true. That land can be taken away from you if you don't pay Uncle Sam, and then somebody will sweep in there and purchase it for pennies on the dollar. And I've heard countless stories of that happening, in Black communities. And so, it's time to, reacquire that land. I think some of the land that's been lost, there's an opportunity nowadays to go ahead and do that. And so it used to be that it was a bad thing for people from the North to go down to the South and purchase land. And they would, they had names.
Oh, yeah.
They call names, and they call carpetbaggers, and they say, no, you can't be doing that kind of stuff. But I don't really think that the Black community bears that burden. I don't think that we have to, it's definitely should not be looked at as a negative thing for Black folks to be buying up the South. I think it's awesome. I think it's a plus. It's a good thing. So,
and see, that's why I brought up your website for like the D Squad Financial Group, because you have one question on this always set off in my mind. So, what is your financial freedom?
What is your financial freedom? Exactly. Yeah, and it's different for every person. I know for me personally, my financial freedom is specifically tied to the freedom of my time. And my freedom to, live and do the things that I want to do, of course, within means, within reason. That's what financial freedom looks like to me, is to, I'll probably work until the day I die, but having the freedom to say, well, maybe I don't want to work. Maybe I want to take it, maybe I want to go, to Ghana, or maybe I want to go to Ethiopia for a couple of months and come back, and that to me is financial freedom, is that freedom of time and the freedom to be able to, go pretty much anywhere I want to go. Yeah. It's different though for everyone else. Some people just say, hey, as long as I have a house and as long as,
Yeah, that's the truth. A lot of people do think that way. As long as I have a house, as long as I have a means of transportation, as long as I have good health, and those are the things that they focus on right there.
Yep, and that's financial freedom for them, and that's great. And I think definitely have a goal, and that's something that I love doing, is to help people get to their goals, their financial goals, because it's different for everyone. I just had a talk with a potential client yesterday, and I was like, hey, what are you looking to do? What do you want retirement to look like? And she kind of explained it to me, and I said, yeah, we can make that happen. It's not as hard as most people think. You just have to have a plan that is solid. And, once you have that plan in place, you have to implement that plan. You can't just have the plan. You have to, you actually have to implement the plan. And so these folks that have purchased this land, they have definitely planned this out in advance, and they have implemented the plan, and they're on their way. And I'd love to just follow their story and learn more about what they're doing. So, again, that's awesome. So, we have to educate our people about how to do things like that.
So you speak of a plan. So let's go ahead and do you have any idea of what steps a person can start to take to start to building that plan?
Well, yeah, sit down with a financial professional. I think that, first you have to have an idea within yourself of kind of what you want, and start there. And then once you say, hey, this is what I want retirement to look like, or this is what I want, the the second half of my life, me just turning 42, I'm looking at it in a sense of, hey, you know, if I, God willing, if I live to be in my 80s or 90s, this is pretty much the first half of my life is pretty much gone. And so I have to decide, hey, now how do I want to spend the second half of my life? What do I want my last 40 or 50 years? What do I want that to look like? And so once you figure out what you want that to look like, then, talk to a financial professional and say, hey, this is what I want. This is what I want retirement to look like. And then that person, hopefully, is able to draw up a plan and coach you along the way to help you to get to that end game, or to that plan that you've drawn up. And when I create financial plans for people, it's not just a matter of me creating a plan. It's something that we create this together. I'm just helping them to get to their goals. I don't want to create a plan for them, in a sense that I don't want to tell them what their retirement should look like. I just want to give them the tools and the roadmap how to get there and walk with them along the way.
Okay. So why don't we just try to give us some steps here? So we're going to go first with the financial freedom steps. Okay.
Yeah. Financial freedom steps. You have to educate yourself. You have to have a base level of knowledge about, the financial industry, the financial tools that are out there. You have to organize your finances. That's definitely, part of the first steps to financial freedom, to getting there, is you have to have your financial house in order. Pay off debt. You've got to make sure that you have some sort of plan to get yourself out of debt. If you're struggling with that, a lot of, most folks in the United States are struggling with debt on one level or another. So you educate yourself on how to get out of that debt, work with someone to help you get there. And then, building that wealth, get to a point to where you're saving, you've got your emergency fund, that you take care of all the what ifs in life that could potentially happen, that could throw off your plan. Because, as I've said in the past, all of the clients that I have dealt with are on two very distinct paths. There's that wealth accumulation path, and there's that protection path. And that wealth accumulation path can take a little bit longer. That protection path can, that is something that can be taken care of right away. The insurance side of things, you can protect yourself against, premature death, financially at least. You can protect yourself financially against becoming disabled. Your health insurance is definitely something that is important. Make sure that you don't, a lot of folks, they'll go bankrupt over, some sort of health condition that comes up. So you need to make sure that you have yourself protected. Now, that wealth accumulation path, that is something that is going to take a little bit of time. And so, after you take care of the health insurance and the life insurance and that kind of stuff, then we start having conversations about, investing and helping your money to make money. People always talk about, they want to have their money growing while they sleep. And when you're at work, or when you are doing whatever you do to generate an income, create cash flow, in addition to that, it would be great if you could have your money growing on a compound basis. And so, that is definitely key to the accumulation side of creating generational wealth. And so you've got the protection and you've got the wealth accumulation. And again, when you create a plan, there are so many things that can potentially throw you off course from this curve, this financial curve of creating financial wealth. And as long as you've got your defensive, insurance thing set up, then you have to worry about that a lot less. Everybody has car insurance. It's by law that you have to have car insurance, and, you get into an accident and, you got full coverage and your car is taken care of and you don't have to worry about it so much. So, what about you personally? What if something on you breaks down and, you could be walking down the street and, you could get,
there you go.
you never know, you get hit by a bus and then you can't work. And now, the money-making machine that is yourself is now not able to make money, and you have to put money out to take care of yourself. So you got to make sure that you have that protection in place. And so those are the two key things: is to be on both of those paths, the protection path and the wealth accumulation path. And it's also great to have someone along the way to walk with you along the way. Those are the two main things that have to be in place.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I sent out a message to my family today, and I was telling them right now at this time in our life, it is more important now than ever to enroll in a health plan and health insurance.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And people don't realize reason why that is. And one of the main reasons is there's two factors to it. One of the factor is, due to the pandemic, you should have health insurance. You do need to have health insurance, because even though they're gonna create a vaccine and we don't know who's gonna take it, we don't know whether or not it's gonna work. We all know this, but still, that's one of the reasons why you need health insurance. The other thing is because due to the pandemic, rates in health insurance are going to be lower. So they're going to be dropping for the first time in years.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be a lot less than what they used to be.
Oh, wow. And see, this is where I defer to you, because, even though I focus on life insurance and disability and what have you, you're the health insurance guy. So you're the guy, you're the go-to guy on the health insurance side. So that's news to me, is that the health insurance rates will be going down.
But see, then the other thing, the key factor to this is that due to the death of RBG and the possibility of ACA being eliminated, which I still say maybe slim to none, you want to be able to have health insurance so that, because if you come down with COVID, you then have a pre-existing condition. At that point in time in your life, you have now become a person with a pre-existing condition.
That's right.
And if whatever administration be in office, if they decide to remove ACA and they go back to the fact that underwriting comes into play for health insurance, underwriting is written based on pre-existing conditions.
Right.
So if you have a policy now, and that policy is in place down the road, they can't underwrite you on pre-existing condition because you already had a policy in place. So that's why I say now is the most important time in your life to have a health insurance policy.
Absolutely. I agree. You have to have the health insurance in place, and you have to have the life insurance in place. It's not an option. I mean, it's in our society and the way that things are set up, it's kind of optional. Nobody forces you to get life insurance. Nobody is out there forcing you to get health insurance to the extent that, people feel like they actually have to get it. But it for your own sake, for your own financial sake, and just for your own family's sake, it's something that you have to have in place, 100% optional. Nobody forces you to get.
You still with me there?
Oh yeah, I'm with you here. I think I may have dropped you a little bit. Did you drop me on the audio there? I must have been talking too much.
No, not at all, guy. But you're right, and then you think about it, because of COVID-19, it's an opportunity for everybody should also realize they need to have health insurance. I mean, people have been dying unexpectedly, and families were not prepared to lay their loved ones to rest.
Right.
And just think about 200,000 deaths now. How many of those people actually had a policy in place to cover? How many of those people had a policy in place to provide for their families?
Right. Right. It's something that, it just has to happen. It's not optional. It's not something that you can put off or that you should put off. It's something that you should take care of now. And I think that this pandemic is really opening up people's eyes as to what can happen to you. Because
it is open up eyes, but you got to be honest with. We got people out there, and I just saw this on Instagram today, Well, there's one person, I'm not going to mention a name, who continuously refused to and try to advise others not to wear a mask.
Right. Right.
And I get so sick of people doing that. It's like, yeah, it's your right for you not to wear one, but don't lie to somebody else to keep them from wearing one.
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
like throwing out misinformation and fake information saying, well, how can they prove it's a virus? How can they prove it's real? How can they? No. It's not about what they can prove. They proved it already. There's 200,000 bodies laying down dead somewhere.
Exactly. We've just hit that very grisly, number of deaths, 200,000. That's crazy. To even think about that. And I personally have known people that have been affected by COVID, and I've heard non-believers say, do you know anybody? Do you know anybody? I'm like, yeah, actually, I have known some folks that have been affected. It's real.
Right. And then the thing, when the non-believers who say something, they got to realize you're disrespecting the people who have lost somebody.
Right.
You are completely disrespecting that person. They're still grieving. It hasn't even been a year.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's kind of a maturity thing, to a certain level, because when you're young, you kind of feel like, hey, I'm going to live forever and nothing's going to affect me.
Unfortunately, these are not those people these are not young people that are making these comments. These are people in their 40s and 50s and even 80s. I saw this 70-some-year-old guy, who's on news the other day. I'm going to die. Like, yeah, you are, it's like, but it's your right. It's like,
you ready to check out? You don't want to.
You're right. But you got to realize, think about the person standing beside you. That's the thing.
Exactly. Think about the next person, treat others the way that you want to be treated. It just comes back to that same goal, or that same ideal is, if you don't care about yourself, at least have the courtesy to care about somebody else. I've been in positions where, I'm client facing and I'm talking to people and I'm wearing, maybe a mask and they're not wearing a mask. And it's like, they don't want to wear a mask. I'm like, yes, I'm protecting myself, but I could be protected even more if they were wearing a mask. And, I can't believe that people just don't get it. I don't know if it's just a form of rebellion or if it's a form of, you can't tell me what to do. But I think it's kind of immature. It's a global pandemic. I mean, how many more signs do you need? I saw in some other country, I can't think of the country right offhand, but I was reading some article where they made it to where people that didn't wear masks had to bury the people that had died from COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They were
punished. I keep saying I would hope that doctors would come up and say, hey, here's the deal. If you're not going to wear a mask and something happened to you, I'm not going to treat you. I get a right to refuse to treat you.
Well, that's the funny thing about, I had a friend of mine he made a very poignant point. He said, very similar to how when you go into 7-Eleven, it says no shoes, no shirt, no service.
Mm-hmm.
During a pandemic, it is perfectly okay and legitimate to say no shoes, no shirt, no mask, no service. I mean, you may not care about yourself and your own health, or you may be a non-believer, but have some respect for the people behind the counter when you go to 7-Eleven. Have some respect for their life. And it's funny because, and this is I'm pulling at straws here. I'm drawing two things together that may not be totally connected, but when we're talking about, with Black Lives Matter, right? So we've got all these other people and they want to respond and say, well, all lives matter. Well, if all lives matter, then wear a mask.
There you go.
There's some of the same people that are saying, all lives matter that are not wearing masks. There's some of the same people that are, they're not advocating for those people that are, locked up in ICE camps, that are saying all lives matter, but yet we still have people in cages. It's very hypocritical. And, I just really wish people would, you know, think about their neighbor, think about the person that they're talking to. Like I said, you're within your rights to take your life within your own hands, but just be considerate of others, I think is the key takeaway. At least for
Yeah,
me.
and people are probably wondering, like, how does this tie into financial Wakanda? Simple. If you're dead.
Yes, your life is your wealth. I mean, if you don't have time, if your time on this earth is shortened, then your wealth is short. If time is money, right?
Thank you.
And then your time can be decreased by illness, can be decreased by, somebody not wearing a mask. Now you've taken a year or two off my life. Even if I do get COVID from somebody, and it so happened to be, I don't know how you would prove it, but if it was from somebody else not wearing a mask, my life has been shortened because of somebody else's actions, because they didn't care. And that's affecting my life. That's affecting generational wealth. That's affecting my ability to potentially earn income if I get sick. Now I got to pay hospital bills, all because, you didn't want to wear a mask.
Well said. Well said.
And time, like I said, time is money, and don't decrease my time. Don't discount my time, because by discounting my time, you are discounting my money, and you are affecting my wealth. And yeah, so it is correlated. There is a correlation between, time and money, and health. You can have all the money in the world, but if you die at 42, then, it's all for naught. The owner of Apple, who, passed away. He had so much money that he didn't know what to do with, but I bet you that he would have exchanged all of it if he could have had another decade or two added to his life.
Oh yeah.
So health and wealth are definitely, interconnected. What do they say? I guess it's healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I'm a big Star Trek fan, and I grew up watching Star Trek, and Spock, of course, one of my favorite characters. And that's be like Spock, live long and prosper.
There you go.
Prosperity and living long, is the goal. And so, don't shorten your life unnecessarily, and don't shorten the lives of others unnecessarily.
Absolutely. And what would Spock say to that one?
It's only logical.
Great poet.
Only logical. So, when it comes to money, I'm there oftentimes to help people, to be the voice of logic. When people, are talking about money and their retirement plan, and they're talking about accumulating wealth, and they're talking about their health, they're very emotional about it. And so, and as well, they should be. And I'm there to, bring that logical plan and say, hey, if you do this, then this will be the result. And as we journey together, as client, and advisor, or what have you, say, when emotional times come up and they say, well, I can't pay this premium, I want to skip this health insurance premium or this life insurance premium because I want to do XYZ. I want to go on vacation. I want to do this. I want to do that. Then I'm the one that comes along and say, well, let's think about that. Let's what is going to be the long-term effect of you doing this? And is that what you want to do? Have your goals changed? And I will illustrate that to people. I'll say, all right, well, if you choose to do this instead of doing that, then this is what the end result of that is going to be for you long term. And that's, kind of what I use, the software stuff that I use, that I show people, hey, I'm not just telling you this. This is the logic. This is data. This is empirical data that is going to show you the effects of your actions. And so, I'm there sometimes to be the voice of reason and to take some of the emotion out of some of the financial decisions that are out there, that people are faced with. So I guess I'm the Spock of financial service.
Now you're heading back to Denver pretty soon, correct?
Oh yeah, I cannot wait. I'm headed back. I'm scheduled for the second week of October, that I'll be back, and I'm going to try and stay down there for 2 weeks. It may only be the 1 week, but I've got some things that I need to handle out there. I'll be working again on the secured savings plan, and I don't know if we covered this in the last podcast. But at one point or another, I really wanted to continue being on the implementation board, for that secured savings plan, but I have since changed my mind. I've decided that, I have since decided that it may be in the best interest of the plan or the program if there was a way that I could work on this full time. And, that board has been charged with, hiring some folks on, I think, to the treasurer's office to work on that secured savings plan full time to help with the creation of that. And the board is going to kind of monitor and kind of direct things in a particular way to make sure things get done. But this is something that I'm such a big advocate of, that it's something that I would love to be doing on a full time basis and give it the attention that it deserves. So if it is within the plan, I would love to be a part of, creating that Colorado Secured Savings Program and doing it on a full-time basis. And so now, that's kind of my goal, is to go back to Colorado and to talk to some folks and see if I can be a part of the team, on an ongoing basis. And so, that's kind of my goal. The board of directors is my understanding that they will continue to be a board for the next 4 years or so, but their commitment to it, they will meet maybe on a monthly or every couple of month basis, and kind of do their thing. But my goal would be to be working on it full time. So I'm gonna, do whatever I can do to potentially secure a position, maybe working with the treasurer's office directly to do that on a full-time basis. So that would be awesome. I would put a few other things on hold just to do that, because of how important I think it is to the state and the potential the potential impact for the state of Colorado. So I'm really looking forward to moving that along, as the state starts to get back in working order again.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to having you back in Colorado for a couple of weeks, and you'll be here right before the next snow, because it always seems to snow on Halloween.
Oh yeah. It looks like the end of October. It tends to snow a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can get in there and get out before because they've been telling me that it doesn't snow much out here in Tennessee. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. If I end up being,
but see, it doesn't snow much in Tennessee. But the thing about it, Tennessee get those cold, wet winters, and if they get an ice storm, dude,
oh man,
you need a generator.
See, I haven't,
because you got a lot of trees.
I have not experienced the winter in the South before. I mean, I was born in Indiana, and so but up northern Indiana, and Indiana has a lot of southern characteristics to it, I guess you would say. But being up there by the Great Lakes, by Lake Erie and Lake Michigan, it gets really, really cold up there, and there's a lot of snow. But being down here in the South, I imagine that it's similar temperature drops down here, but they say that they really don't get any snow, and they pretty much shut down the city if there's even an inch of snow. So
of course, that's the South. They shut down the city if there's an inch of snow.
We'll see how that goes. And I myself, I've been kind of weary about doing some of the traveling that I've been doing. Going back and forth to Denver. I try to take every precaution. I wear my mask, and I I've heard on the news where people are getting kicked off of planes and planes are being rerouted because other folks just refuse to wear a mask. And I think it's crazy, but
they're kicking people off the planes. If you don't wear your mask, you will be escorted off the flight.
Oh man, I'd be so mad if somebody didn't wear a mask and my plane had to be redirected. It was something silly like that.
So they're not taking any chances because they realize, you're in a confined area.
Right. I mean,
and the airline is a business, and they want their business to succeed. And it's not going to succeed if they got, excuse my French for saying, buttholes who don't want to wear a mask.
Exactly. And that's, to the best of my knowledge, it's recirculated air. I mean, they've got, filter systems in there and all that, but it's recirculated air. And last time I flew, they had like this mist. It seemed like there was this fog type stuff that was coming out, and I don't know if that had to do with air purification or something, but it was. I've flown
possibility.
I've never seen that before, but there was kind of this mist that was coming up, and I was like, "What is all that?" And so
that's a possibility. I've seen a lot of people utilizing certain type of humidifiers. They're using those with some certain type of liquids in their homes that's supposed to help kill the germs, from the virus. So that's a possibility.
I wonder, I was, working in investments. I'm not huge on commodities trading, but just because it's so volatile. But, I was doing a little bit of research a while back, and they were talking about, some of the antimicrobial properties of copper, saying that copper, as a surface, can help to kill the coronavirus within like a 4-hour period. So there's various metals apparently that are resistant or that the virus cannot live on for as long as like on plastic or cloth materials or things like that. So I got to thinking, I was like, I wonder if the price of copper is going to go up. They're going to start making this stuff.
More than likely it will, since you just gave it a shout out. So yes, so it will go up now.
Maybe I'm causing that, in one way to happen by speaking it, but people have been talking about it. And so, I noticed when I go to the Capitol, in Colorado, the state capitol, a lot of the handrails and stuff are made out of copper, and a lot of the water drinking fountains or whatever are made out of copper. And I used to wonder, like, why is this? I wonder if they did that. They, have been knowing that for a while and have done that in the past and say, hey, to keep things a little bit more sanitary. That would be interesting to kind of look up and see if there's some.
That would be something that you need to check into when you're here. I think that's a good one there, because I would like to know it myself. Say, okay, that is so true. All right, Mr. Rayden Johnson, we're gonna get ready to wrap up here, and I'm just gonna give a good shout out for ourselves, because I just want to say, if you haven't heard, yes, and it's been across the screen for the longest. I'm happy to announce that HealthNet Co-Insurance Agency is now a direct enrollment partner with healthcare.gov. So what does that mean for people in Georgia and Texas? That means basically you no longer have to go to healthcare.gov to enroll. You can actually go also to healthnetco.com and enroll and get your subsidy. It's a direct enrollment partner.
Nice.
So that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Nice. And next we'll be talking about, that tax refund. We're rolling up on the end of the year here, and I want folks to start thinking about, creating wealth using that tax refund or some of this stimulus money. There's creative ways that I've been working with clients and their stimulus money at $1,200. Hey, that money can be used for a lot of good things towards someone's financial plan. I've helped create financial plans with people only using their tax refund. So, we're running up on an interesting time of year. There's a lot of stuff going on, like you said. So there's plenty to talk about in our future episodes.
There's a lot to talk about because, like you said, there's a lot of savings going on. So we definitely we're getting close to like I said, we're getting close to open enrollment. Open enrollment begins on November 1st. It always begins on November 1st for everybody. So just remember that, people. You need to enroll in your health care plan. November 1st is the time you want to start doing that. There's a lot of changes going on. Like, they're good, they're not bad. This is the first year I can say this is a positive enrollment and not a negative.
Nice.
Never is there a negative, but it's a positive enrollment because there are great plans that are out there. There are plans coming down the turnpike with lower premiums. There's great subsidies, and there are great plans that have lower deductibles. So there's a lot of good things going on out there in the healthcare world. They're thinking about the people for change.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. We'll have to talk about that on the next podcast, about that healthcare.
Yeah.
It's a big time to be talking about health insurance.
So we have to look at those things as well as look at the life insurance, the health insurance, because this is when you want, like I said, this is when people need to start looking at, hey, you don't have a pandemic for just because people have a pandemic. It's the time to take a look and reflect. That you have all your pieces in place.
Yep, absolutely. This is a great time to look and focus on your financial future. While as a country, while we're in this, downtime, just because a lot of folks are maybe they're out of work or they're looking for new work. 2020 is an interesting year. We're going to be talking about this for decades to come. And, I think this is a really good time for people. The silver lining is that people can reorganize their finances and focus on themselves and things that they need to do with their financial plan, which should include their health insurance as well. So now is a good time to get with someone and start talking about your financial future and start 2021 off on the right foot and make sure you got all your ducks in a row. And so that you can, begin. For me, I'm looking at it as like, in a sense, in my own personal world, it's kind of a new era. This is, again, the second half of my life, for me. And I'm like,
the second half of your life, because you passed that 45 mark or you got in it past that 40 mark. So it becomes the second half of your life.
Nice. Yep. That's how I'm seeing it. So I'm like, how am I going to do the second half? How am I going to line things up so that I have things, the way that I want them? How do I make sure that I have my retirement set up the way that I want it? Because when I'm talking to my clients, it's not just me preaching down to them and saying, this is what you should do. We're on this financial journey together. I'm walking on this path with them. I'm not independently wealthy myself. I'm someone that, yes, I have, investment experience, 20 years of investment experience. I know about life insurance and all that. But, when I'm talking to my clients, we're walking down this road together. We're both walking towards our financial goals together.
I was just thinking now, would you think, like there are some people probably look at their life in quarters. So they would say, they're not. So you're looking at it in half. So they're looking at it in quarters. So
well, I look at it in quarters too. I mean, the first 20 years, I'm looking at it as, hey, this was me, being a kid. This is me, kind of growing up, getting my first work experience, getting my first taste of making a little bit of money or whatever. And then from 20 to 40, that's where, I started making some more money, started growing into, adulthood. I know you're adult at 18, but I was like, from 20, 25 to 40, that's when you're really growing into adulthood, or at least I did. Maybe I'm a slow mature, but all right, I'm full grown now, and but as a full grown adult and someone that has some experience with being an adult at this age at 42, now it's like, all right, what do I want the rest of my life to look like? And so even though those first 20 were basically learning and being a kid and all that, and the second 20 was kind of learning things and getting some experience in that. Now it's time to put all the experience and the knowledge that I've gained as a young adult into practice as a middle-aged adult.
There you go. All right, my man. So on that note, we're going to sign off. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today at HNC Let's Talk Podcast. And I hope everyone be well, be safe, and most importantly, be kind to each other.
Yes, and live long and prosper.
And live long and prosper.